China spent 17 years and up to $120 billion to hide a submarine fortress under 200 feet of rock. The US mapped it in 26 hours. How? In this video, you'll see how quantum magnetometers, seabed seismic arrays, and AI fused into a sensor web that didn't need spy satellites to expose 17 tunnels, ventilation weak points, and a near-complete submarine count. If you think concrete and camouflage guarantee second strike survival, stay, because the sensors that peer through rock just rewrote the playbook. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. A base buried under rock. 15 feet of concrete. Doors heavier than a 747, so why did it turn into a map instead of a shield? This was built for one job: keep the second punch alive. You hide your ballistic subs, you ride out the first strike, and you still hold the power to answer. That's the logic. Put the fleet under an island, tunnel deep, harden every surface, and buy time. In nuclear strategy, time is survival. If a hull can move after the worst day, deterrence still works. But there's a trade. The ocean gives you a moving cloak, underground gives you walls. Which keeps you safer? Open water lets a boat vanish into noise and current. Rock gives you protection from blast and prying eyes, but it pins your path to a few exits. Safety turns into funnels. Funnels can be watched. Inside, the complex runs like a hardened maze. 17 mouths cut into the shore and hillside, each wide enough to swallow a hull and tug. Rail spurs run equipment along the spine. Cavern docks hold boats dry for workups while crews cycle through checks. Power banks hum behind blast doors. Air plants scrub and push flow down long shafts. Water sits stacked in storage for weeks, then moves in set pulses to keep systems cool. Everything about it says endurance. A base meant to close the doors and live in silence for months. That shelter has real bite. The boats it protects carry long-range ballistic missiles, the kind built to reach across oceans from home waters. Add in fast attack hulls and a mass of diesel electrics, and you get layers. Hunters to tail intruders. Quiet batteries to sit and ambush near choke points. A ballistic platform sits behind them, the crown jewel. It's a layered screen wrapped around a single mission: let the missile subs leave and return under a guard. Even the build itself is a message. Years of blasting, pouring, and wiring say more than a parade. Steel and concrete in bulk, and the patience to finish, speak to will. You don't need a shot fired when the shape of the mountain tells your rival you plan to survive the first hour and the last. But every underground thing has the same weak law: it must breathe, it must power, it must move. Air has to flow or people fall. Current has to feed pumps, rails, and lights. Water has to cycle, engines have to run, and doors have to open and close. Each need leaves a trace. Vent shafts print thermal and chemical hints. Power lines leak fields. Pumps, winches, and cranes add a pulse to the ground and the water. Steel masses settling on rails shift local magnetics. In isolation, each sign is small. Together, they write a pattern. Think of a stone castle with a drawbridge. Thick walls scare you off. But you don't pound the wall. You wait at the bridge. It must drop for food, riders, and war. That hinge becomes the fight. A sea fortress works the same way. Walls deter. The openings decide. So the same systems that make the place livable also make it legible. Fixed vents. Fixed intakes. Known depths for the cuts. Routine power loads that spike at shift change. Ships move, but bases keep schedules. If you can watch those points, you can predict the flow. Once you fix the seams, you stop chasing ghosts and start running a timetable. That raises the next question you have to ask: if rock masks mass and shape, what kind of sensor turns stone into a window, and how close do you have to get before the fortress starts telling on itself? No satellites. No flyovers. A quiet net in the water and on the seabed turns stone into glass. Here's the kit. Quantum magnetometers to read the faint bends in Earth's field. Seabed seismic lines to catch tiny shivers through mud and rock. Passive acoustic nodes tuned for low cycle hum. Thermal sensing to track waste heat leaking through water and soil. Over it all, AI that layers raw feeds, strips noise, and hunts patterns no single sensor can prove alone. You don't need a big lens when the target leaves small, steady fingerprints. Rock kills sight and blocks most energy, but steel and motion still write on the world. Submarines soak fields. Pumps add rhythm. Doors change pressure. The question is simple: can you stitch microanomalies into a map with depth, shape, and timing? If you can, walls stop hiding and start reporting. Start with the quantum set. Think of a calm lake at dawn. A boat slips by and leaves a wake that spreads, even after it's gone. Quantum magnetometers do that for magnetics. They read tiny changes against the planet's baseline, so a mass of steel, a crane starting up, or a hull sliding along rails bends the field just enough to mark. A single spike doesn't tell you much. A repeating shape, tied to time and place, begins to outline doors, rails, and traffic. On the bottom, seismic strings sit quiet and listen. They don't chase the big quakes, they hunt the micro. A bulkhead thuds into place. A pump hits a new cycle. A rail car loads out fasteners and crawls a few meters. Each event sends a faint tremor through sediment and bedrock. Alone, it's noise. Stacked across a grid and aligned with tide, weather, and known shipping lanes, it becomes a heartbeat. Acoustic nodes add tone to that heartbeat. Not propellers on patrol, but infrastructure sounds, low-frequency fans, coolant surges, ballast blowdowns, winch motors spooling under load. In short clips, they blur. Over hours, they form a score you can read for tempo changes. A shift change has a sound. An emergency drill has a sound. Doors that seal under power have a sound. Heat is the tell that refuses to hide forever. Waste energy has to move somewhere. Water outlets run a few degrees off the ambient curve for minutes, then drop. Soil patches above tunnels warm and cool in a rhythm out of step with sun and wind. Microtemp shifts along a coastline flag intakes and vents as they breathe. AI trains on those cycles, learns the normal week, and flags the hour when the base takes a bigger breath. Fusion is the pivot. Layer magnetics, seismic, acoustic, and thermal into a single space-time frame, scrub for weather and shipping, then run synthetic models that match sensor behavior to likely layouts. If magnetics tilt this way when a vibration hits that node and a heat spike lands downstream 40 minutes later, the simulation picks the tunnel angle that fits all three. Repeat across the grid until the ghost of the base sharpens. Operation stayed quiet. Autonomous sensors seated near likely exits, low power and low profile. Attack subs parked in dead water, noise floors shaved to a whisper. P8s rotated patterns, laying sonobuoys in offset arcs so no one could trace a fixed net. The aim was persistence without a footprint. Let the base tell its story at its own pace. In days, not weeks, the output was actionable. A working count of tunnel mouths. Exit lines with depth and bottom type. Ventilation seams that breathed on a schedule. A high-confidence tally of hulls inside in which classes moved, so shadows could be assigned and held. Once it's mapped, a fortress stops being a secret. It becomes a schedule. When exits are watched and captains are known, do you still deter, or do you start to negotiate every move at the gate? Technology outruns concrete. When every exit glows on sensors, a fortress becomes a cage. You saw it here, hard walls met faster data, and the schedule gave the game away. Intelligence wins when it watches longer, fuses wider, and strips the surprise from steel. So here's the choice. Do you pour more rock, or buy more signal? Comment your choice below. If you value operations that win with sensors, data, and discipline, subscribe. The next race isn't louder warheads. It's quieter watchers. Nets that listen. Models that predict. Patience that pins a captain to a clock, and turns a safe harbor into a waiting room.